Now we are going to start our next experiment, that is to determine the field density by the sand. We require for the conduction are sand pouring cylinder, cylindrical calibrating container, metal tray with a hole, and sand that is to be oven dried, and a trowel. Along with these, we need some sharp edge elements to dug a hole. Here I have shown a picture of calibrating cylinder and a pouring cylinder. This is the pouring cylinder which we will use to conduct this test. We are going to do the lab calibrations for this test. For that, we are going to use this calibrating container which will give us the density of the sand in the field. So, we are going to use this density to determine the density of the soil of the field. We are going to use, first one is the pouring cylinder, which consists of a shutter which can be used to control the flow of the sand. Here is the cylinder which is known as the calibration cylinder, used to determine the density of the sand. Here is a plate which has a hole inside it at the center, which is 10 cm in diameter, and this plate is having a size of 30 cm to the 30 cm, and some of the sharp edge instruments which are to be used to dug a hole in the field. So first of all, we are going to weigh it. M1 is 7.548 kgs. So now we are going to place it on this. So as the movement of flow has stopped, which I have seen from the top, so we are going to stop this shutter and again weigh it. 5.507 kgs. Now this deep weight has again to be determined, which we are going to determine by placing it on a simple paper. We can determine the weight of the heap. As the flow has been stopped, now I am going to shut this shutter and I am going to weigh the heap weight equal to 355 grams. Now, by subtracting the heap weight, that is M1 minus M2 minus M3, we can determine the value of the weight which has actually been placed in this container. So M1 minus M2 and minus M3, we can determine the actual weight which has been placed in this cylinder. Next is a volume of pi r square h. So pi r5 square into 14.3. Using this formula, we will determine the value of volume for this particular container. So using this value, we will be able to find this plate where the density is to be determined, and placing this place on the plate on the field, we are going to dug a hole using the sharp edge instruments like this from the soil. This hole can vary up to a length of 8 to 10 centimeters, and this soil has to be come out of the soil is collected in this plate. Now we are going to take this soil sample into our lab and find the weight of this soil part, and to find the volume of this pit, we are going to place this pouring cylinder on this pit, and we are going to fill it with the sand. Now the pouring has already been stopped because the movement of sand I had seen from the top is stopped now. So now I am going to close this shutter and we are going to take this into the lab and weigh it. This weight of heap, which is an extra amount that we had already found out in the lab. So we are known the value of this heap in the lab already. In the field, we are in our lab. We are going to measure the weight of this pouring cylinder, which will give us the rest amount of the sand which has been left, and we are going to weigh the soil sample weight. So first of all I am going to weigh the soil sample which we have extracted from that pit. 820 grams. 820 grams. Now we are going to weigh this pouring cylinder weight at 402 kgs. So now using these values, we will be able to find the volume of that pit. And using the soil weight, we will be able to find the density of our soil in the field. So I have placed these values. 7.54 is the weight which contains the sand and the cylinder weight. Mass of the sand plus cylinder is equal to, after pouring, this weight is after the pouring of the calibration chart, that amounts to 5.507 kg. Mass of the heap we had determined 0.355. So the mass of the sand which we had done in the lab comes to 1.507 gram per centimeter cube. Now coming to the field, the weight of the sand plus cylinder which remained the same as 7.5480 when we had fully filled this pouring cylinder. Mass of the heap will also remain the same. Now the mass of the sand which we had filled in the pit amounts to 0.743 kgs, which has been determined by subtracting 0.355 kg and 6.42 kgs, which was the rest amount of the sand. So this is 0.743 kg. Now we need to find the volume of that pit. We had filled it with the sand, so placing the sand weight 0.743 into 10 raised to power 3, converting into grams, and divided it with the actual density of the sand which we had determined in our lab during the calibration part. So this amounts to 495.33 centimeter cube. Now to determine the field density of the soil, we had used, which has been determined as 820 grams. On placing this 820 divided to the volume of the pit, 495, the exact amount of the density comes to 1.65 gram per centimeter cube.